I am so excited to welcome you to your May setup. I was so excited to play that song. I was with Maya last night and she played it also for her setup. So we're here. May is just around the corner. We have a brand new theme. And I found this quote that I love. The less I needed, the better I felt. And that's kind of going to be my compass for this brand new month, the month of May, the month of simplicity. So you have found your monthly setup social. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I live in the Dallas, Texas area, and I'll be on camera. Yes, Chris, I agree. Very excited about simplicity. I'll be on camera guiding you, facilitating our time together. I've got lots of examples to show you as we get our monthly part of our journal set up. Also, my co-pilot tonight is the fabulous Malika, and she is in California, and she's giving you a wave. She popped on camera to give you a wave, and she's hanging out in the chat. She's going to be able to answer any questions you might have along the way this evening, kind of maybe share some links if something comes up in conversation, and we will be able to point you in the direction to get any answers that you may be seeking that might come up throughout our night. Now, we don't have access to everything, like we don't have access to your personal accounts. That's in headquarters, but we can certainly bubble up to any, questions that if we're not able to answer. So yes, in-person event in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I'm going to invite any of you folks in the Texas area. Texas is big, so you definitely want to be in North Texas. But on Sunday, May 18th at 2 o'clock, please join me at one of my favorite hangouts, Pie Falutin. We're going to eat pie. We have a private room. We're going to do a little journaling. We're going to just like see each other in real life. Probably some hugs will be happening. And I'm working on a little fun giveaway bag. We're going to do a raffle for that. And this is open not only to Sonder family, but also if you have a friend and you want to introduce that friend to the magic of Silk and Sonder, please feel free to bring your friend. Malika dropped the RSVP in the chat in case you want to go ahead and hop on that. I know I wish wish we could take the show on the road because there's nothing like thinking about the Sonder family together in real life, right? So also we want to remind you of that personalized life coach option that you can have through Silk and Sonder. I love pulling screenshots of what folks are saying about how this personalized lifestylist is working in their life. And the most recent one, Sierra, you know her in Sonder Club, and she comes to many socials. She shared about she's on this quitting smoking journey, and she says Jenny, who is the AI coach, is all about I got you, boo. And I loved that. But then what really moved me was the message to Mayha that you probably prevented me from having a heart attack or stroke by 40. So thank you for this service. So this service works. It's wonderful. If you have any questions, you can email concierge at silkandsonder.com, and they can talk to you about pricing. Right now we have a 50% off deal going for the intro rate. If you're brand new, there's lots of other things. So if you have any questions, concierge at silkandsonder.com. Here are those community guidelines. So here's the time when I say, is there anybody at a monthly setup for the very first time? If that is you, we would all love to just welcome you. So this is a cameras off, mics off event. We ask you to just put a me in the chat so we can say hello and welcome to our newest Silk and Sonder socialer. But if you come to these socials, you'll get to notice and know these names of all these wonderful folks. Yes, to anybody new or coming back, we love the folks who are coming back, right? And if you do this enough, oh look, we got another Maggie there. I love that. Hi Maggie. Hi Lynn. Um, we create this space. Oh, Kelly is here. Welcome. These are a great way of making sure that you are like having the best journey in your journal. This helps keep us on track. And we share tips and tricks with each other, but we also support one another. And so, if you come to these long enough, you have this virtual community who also the Jenny AI says, I got you, boo. Like we are traveling, right? It truly is a lifeline, like Chris is saying, because we kind of get to know each other and journey together. But since for our newbies, we always share these community guidelines because we do create safe spaces whenever we're together. And oh, I love when kitty cats walk across the keyboard, Kim. That's fun. I love that. Hello, other Lynn. I love that. It's fun. Yeah, you got some name twins in there. Also, with our new month, what's special about this month for you? Who's got a birthday? I know last night we had a ton of May birthdays. Both of my kids were born in the month of May, so May is a pretty special month in our family. Would love to tell our May babies happy birthday. So if it is your birthday, yeah, there Katie's celebrating on the 17th. Leah is right before you on the 16th. We had lots of May people last night. Oh, and Lynn, both of your babies are May babies. I love that. My kids were born the May 28th, and then 3 years later, May 29th. Can you tell I'm a teacher and I wanted I wanted to hang out with them in the summer. Oh, we've got lots of May birthdays. So happy birthday to y'all. We can pretend that this is our little birthday party. We're welcoming spring. We're saying goodbye to oh, Kim, May 28th was your mom. I love that. I'll think of you when Daniel Ogilvy has his birthday this year. We're saying goodbye to winter. It's like officially spring. Most of us should be pretty much thawed out by now. There are some fun things that happen in the month of May, and there's just some fun facts. Of course, we have our Taurus and Geminis with us today because of the month of May, those birthday gals from the month of May, Memorial Day. It's National Pet Month. And the flower for the month is the lily of the valley. So if you are a birthday person in May, that is your birth flower. And of course, your stone is an emerald, which I love. And then of course, it's gonna be May. Um, Simplicity, new month. I mean, it's like the simplest month, May. Bobby Brown says, I feel that simplicity of life is just being yourself. And I grabbed that one because if you journeyed with us this whole past month, we did some big work on being authentic, being our true selves, honoring who we are, and not worrying about what other people think of us. And I think that really makes this step over into the focus of simplicity so beautiful, right? Because if we have really dug into our core values and honoring who we are in our decisions, we have whittled away a lot of stuff that's not important to us. So, simplicity is a beautiful thing to pair with that work that we did with authenticity. So, we always love to begin by just talking a little bit about Meha's letter to us. There's always a letter at the front of the journal, and it kind of helps you understand like why this theme, why did we choose it? What are the things that are bubbling up about this theme? And the things that jumped out for me was simplicity is a radical act of self-care. It doesn't have to mean living a minimal life, which is really good news for me because I'm not a minimalist by any means. Um, and then the question, we're questioning what are the areas in your life that feel overly complicated or chaotic? And I'm really excited about the journey in making, they say keep it simple, right? Make things as simple as possible. Simplicity is about consciously creating space for what brings you joy, purpose, and fulfillment. Again, just pairing beautifully with the idea of being authentic to our own selves. It's simplify, streamline, and savor. So I encourage you to take a few moments and read that letter. Underline the words, circle words that pop out at you. Making things simpler seems complicated. I get that, Jennifer, right? Like, I don't know if I'm ready for a rhythm and routine change, but I think working through this month's upcoming daily rituals, working the prompts in our journals, showing up at the socials in the weekly socials, where we'll be doing deeper dives with those bonus mind maps. For those of you who are brand new, we do bonus journal prompts that are not found in your journal when you come to a weekly setup. So I think through all of that, we're really going to help ourselves kind of figure out, what does simple look like in my world, in my life. And tonight, we're going to open with a monthly acrostic poem, as well as a couple of bonus ideas. And Chris, I agree. I will never be a minimalist either, but I like the idea of keeping things simple, maybe even a little slow from time to time. Okay, so monthly acrostic poem are reflections from April, May intentions, and then the mood tracker and the habit tracker, and then we'll close our timeout together. And I'm going to encourage you to share in the chat, like when we're setting stuff up, if you repurpose, or if let us know what you're including, because that will help others maybe have a new perspective on how to use their journal. I'm also going to ask you to share your setups, share what work you do tonight, if you're comfortable, in Sonder Club. That's where we get our great things to throw into our slide decks so that we can share with the Sonder community. So I want to make sure that I invite you to do that. I shared this little meme a couple of months ago at a monthly setup. If life was a book, every day would be a new page, every month would be a new chapter, and every year would be a new series. So, welcome to the fifth chapter of your 2025. I love a fresh start. I love the idea behind Silk and Saunders starting fresh every single month. So our simplicity acrostic poem. So we're going to play around with some words, and we're going to ask you to turn to a fresh page in your journal. Every once in a while, we have an acrostic printed on our journal, but this month is not one of those months. And just kind of free associate 10 words or phrases for simplicity, like the first thing that comes to your mind. And then figure out a way to create an acrostic poem using simplicity, drawing upon that brainstormed list. But I also have a couple of other ideas for you too. There's not a right or wrong way to do this. We know that writing poetry is very good for our brains. It's tapping into some parts that we probably don't normally tap into as we are getting creative with words. You can do a sentence, you can do one word, you can do a set of words, you can make it rhyme, you can make it not rhyme. This is really up to you. Now, I have some examples to show you from our Sonder family. Grabbed this one out of Sonder Club. Stillness within, intentionally living each moment, mindful of my choices, present with what is, letting go of control, all these things about simplicity, insight into my true nature. And I laugh because last night, I think it was Andrea said there's too many I's this month, too many words that start with I. Compassion for my mistakes, inner peace, inner wisdom, trusting my gut, yielding to what is. Isn't that beautiful? Mine is there on the left, and I used the index page for mine instead of a notes page. Simplicity just kind of fit right there on that index page. So I chose to put my poem there. The one in the middle is the expense tracker, and that one is the facilitator, Katie. She did hers there. Maggie is already sharing hers. And then we've got that front page there with the definition page, and there's a poem there. Now, if the acrostic isn't for you, or you've done your acrostic and you want to take another step into starting that brain thought process about simplicity, you could write a letter. saying goodbye to April and hello to May. And write like you're writing to a friend. Like get personification is a very, very strong way of framing out how you classify that month. Was April good to you? What are you looking forward to in May? How are you and the month of May planning to journey together? You could also turn to page 3 and fill in that simplicity definition, and I actually also did that, and mine is right there, and I just kinda started creating a little word cloud, and then as things pop up through the month, I may go back and add some words there. Or you can just simply stop and think about small moments that help you slow down, and just, what helps you think about simplicity. So let me put on some music while you work on this. Some of you are already dropping your points in. And yes, Jenny, lots of folks are asking their coach based on what that coach knows about them to what does an acrostic poem about simplicity look like for me, taking all that information. So that's a great shout out, Chelsea. So let you get into your journal and then we'll get going with our setup. We always love digging into a new month with a little inspiration from poetry and start thinking about that theme and what it looks like in your month. And while we're talking about writing this month's acrostic poem, if you were with us in April and you worked through authenticity, I invite you to grab your journal and go reread that poem and see how if it still rings true, if you would change anything. It's kind of fun to look at it again, take a second look. So let's get into our monthly planner now. Um, are y'all loving the colors this month? I know Reverend Joy Ellen was with us last night, and in the chat, she says, I've been begging for something with yellow for months. So she was very happy to see these yellow tones with those purple tones. I think it's such a pretty journal for our kind of official welcome into, spring is we're deep into spring and we're going to be saying hello to the summer before we know it. Yeah, very just bright and happy. It's a vibe for sure, Kelly. So let's begin by looking at our April reflections, and we're going to take a look over this last month. So grab your phone, grab your calendar, look at the pictures that you took. Go thumb back through your journal and find those wins and those challenges from the month, as well as your favorite moments. And then we're going to also do a what do you want to start, stop, and continue. So let's start by just doing this reflection over the month. So think about the things that you are celebrating, maybe some of those roses or those buds that were there for the month. Those are your wins, the accomplishments, things that made you happy, that made you proud of yourself. And then think about maybe some of the stuff that didn't go right, that was maybe tough, maybe some of those thorns that you reflected upon from week to week. Was there something that caused a lot of frustration or a block in your way, a stumbling block where you just couldn't like, ugh, if it weren't for this. And then, again, a reminder, go look at the communication you had with people, those photos, your calendar, and let's just take a few moments to fill out those wins and those challenges and then those favorite moments. And then we'll drop down and work on the next section in a few minutes. please continue your reflection over April? We're going to drop down to the bottom. And I do want to say thanks. Kim posted, that she's had a lot of physical stuff, and it's both the wins for the month, but also the challenges for the month. And I had done a weekly setup. This I did all the weekly setups this past weekend, and I said, my rosebud and thorn was the example of how one thing could be all three, right? And it was my husband's knee replacement. And so I get that, and so when we do see those challenges, when you also have wins associated with it, it really does create like this sense of balance. And life is like that, right? We have those ups and those downs. So if you're not quite finished, that's okay. Continue to work on your April reflections. And I'm going to invite you, to also consider the things from the past month that we want to take forward into May. What needs to start? What's not happening in your life, or maybe a restart? That's going to go in this start box. The things that you want to do so that life is just a little smoother, and it'll be interesting, I think, as we journey through simplicity to sort of go back and take a look at these boxes in a month, and see how we align with them after we kind of work on the idea of making things a little simpler in our life. So, what do you want to try? What do you want to begin? A new start in a fresh new journal. The things that you want to stop, maybe there are some of those challenges that there's part of that you can take away and maybe make that challenge a little lighter. Things, we want to maybe stop doing some things that are not serving us well. It's so easy to continue to do things without really paying attention, right? So do you need some boundaries? Do you need to stop some behaviors? Is there a habit that you want to get rid of and you want to stop? Those are the kinds of things that go in that box. And then, of course, we are doing some things really well too. And so what do we want to take forward into May? With us, those things, just keep doing it. The things you want to keep, the things that are serving you well. And Tammy, it's so funny because, one of mine has to do with my nourishment. I was not, um, yeah, I'm not eating it like I should. And some of it is because I'm just, I've been a caregiver and I haven't been taking care of myself like I should. So let me show you a couple of examples, something to think about when you are setting this space up. Oftentimes, it's nice to kind of do a deep dig and ask yourself the question, like, what is it? What is it I want to start, and why? What is your why behind that? And then the third question to ask yourself is how? How am I going to make this happen? And so this is a great example up there across the top of someone who has defined the things they want to start, stop, and continue, but has reflected why they want to do that or want to stop doing that. And then how am I going to make this happen? The one in the bottom is very detailed. You can see that they wrote below the boxes the thing that they want to start, the thing that they want to stop, and the thing they want to continue. And then they've sort of put a little weekly plan into place in those boxes. And so this information in those boxes can now be moved over into their weekly setup so they can hold themselves accountable. And if you do four little boxes, maybe it's like one a week. Week one, the first box for each one of these goes into week one. There's another what, why, and how across the top. And then the example at the bottom is repurposing this space a little bit and really looking into maybe how you're feeling rather than what you want to stop, start, and continue. And this person they were feeling tired and heavy because my sleep hygiene is off, and IOP is a lot. That's probably something with work. And what do I need? What does that tell me I need? I need a purposeful routine that I can stick to, and that's going to be their guiding compass for the month. So there's some suggestions with that. So I'll put on a little more music while we work on this section of our journal. Take your time as you're thinking about this because I really do feel like these three spaces can really inform and guide us as we set up the rest of our journal for tonight, but also for the weeks ahead. All right, good work, everybody. How are you feeling? Do you feel like you've got a little bit of a foundation made for this new month that we're entering? I hope so. If not, be thinking about it. Let it kind of marinate in your mind a little bit, and maybe tomorrow you'll be able to kind of hone in on the things that you want to take forward into May and the things that you want to stop doing. So thank you for working on that prompt. Now let's take that into setting up our intentions for the month. I love this page, but I'm not always good at this page because I'm such a to-do list kind of gal. And, the top of this page says setting intentions is not making a to-do list. It's asking something of yourself and giving yourself the strength to do it. So it's this overriding, like the idea of the things that you want in your life. I don't know if y'all struggle with that, but I tend to want to just make all these lists for each one of these sections. So you are invited to use these sections just as they are, but you may also find that a category doesn't quite fit what you need for the month. So give yourself permission to change that up. Let's take a look at some things that we can do with this page. You can use the idea of simplicity. How will you employ simplicity into your rhythms and routines in each one of these areas? Perhaps there's an area you're working on, like self love or your self talk. Lots of people will go to a favorite song or lyrics, poetry, things that inspire you, quotes to fill out each one of these spaces. Kind of ask yourself, how do I want to feel each month or each space in each space during this month? You could also just maybe you have some fabulous stickers or you want to draw, you could do that to represent the intentions you have. And I love duality when we think of like both sides of the same coin. And so you might want to think of something you want to let go of and one thing you want to start doing. And I've got some examples to share with you from Sonder, our Sonder Club family. So there's a couple of May intentions filled out. You can see that the person over on the bottom right, there's some stickers there, and they've just written a couple of overriding ideas for that. And then the one at the top, they left everything as is. Both of these people are using their journal, using this page just as it is, not changing anything up. But let's take a look at some other things that might happen. Now, if you're sitting there and you're not quite sure, grab some post-it notes and just start jotting some ideas down. And it might take a day or two to kind of get these set into place. It's really about taking the time and doing what you need to do for your journal. You can see that each one of these sections on the example on the right sort of has the overriding idea, right? Not a to-do list, but this idea for their life. So under spiritual health, looking to be stress-free. Under physical health, just seeing improvement. Money management, financial security. But then they've also put some ideas there that they can now draw upon, almost like a little bank that they can put into their weekly setup so that they are sure that they are checking back in with those intentions for the month. I thought that was a great idea. Again, some more examples. So I was talking about that idea of duality. The one in the middle of the page, May intentions about simplicity. And so for each one of these spaces, they have done a less and then a more. And so they've thought about what do they need less of when they're thinking about their spiritual health. And that was noise. I need less noise. What do I need more of? I need more quiet and more meditation. So they carried that through to all the themes. But notice the very bottom section, the money management section. There is just a little piece of sticker, a little washi tape or a sticker, and it says, "Bloom where you are planted." Just put a beautiful quote right there. And don't, so that's the reminder that we don't have to fill in every one of these intentions if it's not speaking to you, right? You might want to use the monthly theme. So, to simplify my life, I will. And then you do that statement. Oh, I love that. Amy is looking at her acrostic poem and seeing how what she wrote is fitting in with the intentions that she has for the month. And I'll go back through these slides while y'all are working too, because maybe there's something that you're like, I don't really want to use that this month, but I'm going to keep that in mind for another time. Um, please notice the one that's kind of in the upper middle there. They are doing 4 intentions: spiritual, personal, physical, key relationships. And then the bottom, they have put a quote in that section, kind of their guiding quote for the month, as well as a scripture verse that they're going to use as a compass for the month. You can change any of these categories. So if you look, spiritual health for the one on the left is now mental health. And instead of personal life, they've changed that category to personal fun, which I love. And then home management instead of money management. Um, and then the one over there on the right, all the categories are changed up to better fit what this person wanted to embrace for their month. Um, Finally, we've got there. Here's an example of quotes where there's just these Disney character quotes to kind of give that mindset for each area. And then the one next to it is there is a quote, but then also kind of a little action plan, how they're going to make that happen. This one is actually mine, and I kept it simple for simplicity. This was very hard for me to do. It looks like I could have scratched it out in no time, and it took me many, many, many minutes to try to keep it simple because I'm definitely so wordy. But in my home management, instead of money management, I have put declutter. And on my sleep tracker, because I don't use that sleep tracker, I've just listed 31 areas in my home to declutter. And so each day, I'm not necessarily going to go in order, but each day, my plan is to choose something. I've broken that decluttering down into small bits, like number 7 is shoes. I'm just going to go through my shoes that day. So I've tried so that I don't just get overwhelmed with the idea of decluttering. Also, I mentioned, if you've been with me a lot, you know that I'm a retired educator. So my life has been structure, structure, structure. And retirement, I just squander. I don't do well without that beautiful rhythm and routine of a day at school. And so from time to time, I got to redo my rhythms and routines. So this month, my personal life just says good morning, and because I want to have a good morning. I'm not staying focused, and I'm realizing I'm forgetting to take my medicine, and I don't brush my teeth till 2 o'clock, and anyway, I'm kind of a mess. So I'm doing my good morning, and I'm putting all of my morning stuff that I want to have done first thing in my habit tracker. So I'm taking those intentions and incorporating them into my other parts of my journal so that I can hold myself accountable to that. So wanted to suggest that to you. And since I'm retired, my professional goals become learning goals. So every month I watch a good documentary, I read at least one nonfiction book, and then I take a class either online or in person, like at the library, something like that, and sometimes bonus things because I want to keep my brain going. So that's why that bottom spot just says learning goals. Okay. So, yeah, so let's work on our intentions. Share, are you changing up any categories? Let us know which ones and what you're changing them to, because you may inspire somebody else. And then start thinking about ways you can hold yourself accountable to these intentions that you're setting. agree. Good work on that. If you're not quite finished, that's okay. Let it again marinate in your brain until you kind of land on what is going to work for you. And we were joking. Yeah, I could probably put garage on my declutter list for every day of the month. We still we still have boxes from moving 5 years ago, but the garage isn't just mine. So there's only so much one can do, correct? Let's move on to our mood and habit trackers. So we're going to start with our mood tracker. And doing a mood tracker can help you understand the trends in your life. You're going to just flip your page to page 10. But the thing about paying attention to your moods is then you can notice and make decisions, right? You're able to make some shifts. And we're going to show you some ways to set your mood tracker up. Now, I'm also going to show you a bunch of repurposed ideas for that tracker. So we have two mood trackers. If you're here brand new, you're either gonna, here we go, Marie, woo, Team Circle, Team Hexagon, both mood trackers will show up in your journal. The months that have 31 days for sure have the round tracker. And then usually the other months have the hexagon tracker, and everybody has their preference. But we actually have three teams. We have Team Circle, we have Team Hexagon, and we have Team I really don't care. I'm just so grateful to have a mood tracker. So anyway, oh, Michelle, I love that. Michelle's already decided she's going to be using the inside out emotions for her mood tracker. So if you've never done a mood tracker before, we'll tell you choose a couple, three, negative feelings and maybe kind of a neutral feeling, and then two or three positive feelings to track. Now, there's lots of ways to track this. You could do multiple check-ins during the day, like the example you see on the left. There are several colors on many of those days. But a lot of times folks will maybe just do like a 12 p.m. check-in, or they'll maybe check in at the end of the day. This might be one of the last things they do. They kind of think about overall, what was my mood for the day? You can, put this in perspective of simplicity. And then of course, filling this in is really up to you. Let's look at what some folks do. Here's the mood tracker wheel. And the six main feelings are the ones that are in the core, the middle of that wheel, but they're also in the script around the wheel. And then as you move farther out, you get more detailed feelings that kind of fall under those basic feelings. So like fear, also as you start exploring the emotion of fear, you maybe put nervous in that, insecure, terror, worried, inadequate, panic. So you can start getting very detailed and picking words that really help you. But if you're kind of new to using a mood tracker, we suggest maybe starting with those basic feelings before you kind of work your way out to the outside of that wheel. Now, I'll go back to that so you have that to reference. Here are some examples of using the mood tracker with those words, and you can see the one that's over on our right, the bottom one, they are doing an AM and a PM check-in. So they've just split their day in half and they're going to check in twice. The one that's on the upper left-hand side, there's some days that it looks like they're doing maybe several check-ins, but also maybe just kind of evaluating at the end of the day, what were the feelings that came up for me? And oh, very good. Top right one is yours. Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. Yes, it is from a while ago. So I have a little bank. When I see stuff, I put them in my little folder so I can pull them up from time to time. But you kept it very simple and very easy to track. the one at the bottom left, you can see they've put the name of the day. So I think it's important to mark off your days that are different from other days. So maybe you work a non-traditional work week, especially like if you're in healthcare. So perhaps like your work days get outlined in a black marker and your days off get outlined in a green marker. I think when you have those days, the weekends could be highlighted as different days because, again, if we're tracking these moods, we can kind of also see like when they are occurring. And then one of my favorite stories, Maya, one of our co-facilitators shared is a woman was using the mood tracker. You've probably heard Maya tell this story, and her husband was like, "You are always in such a bad mood." She pulled out her journal and she said, "I am not. Here's my mood tracker for the month." And so she had like this data to share, right? But it kind of gave them a point of conversation, right? Like what are you focusing on and that kind of thing. So a mood tracker really can be very beneficial. Look at the one up at the top again, kind of end of the day check in today. I woke up feeling how, and I went to bed feeling how, and it's those days are split in half. You could also put kind of your emotions and track them with energy, like you see the one on the bottom there, where we're looking at, how is my energy level in relationship to how, my mood is, my emotion. And so that's something that could be interesting to track. And also, I'll mention if you don't use a tracker, like maybe you don't use your sleep tracker because you're getting the data on a smart device, or perhaps you don't use the expense tracker because you're tracking in a application on your computer. So one of those trackers could actually be tied into your mood tracker. So if you're tracking, say today I felt anger, then you could go to that tracker that you're not using and repurpose it. And on, day one, I felt anger. Here's what I think caused that feeling. So really pairing that analysis of why you're feeling that way. Or today I feel extremely grateful. And then on the other tracker, here's why. And it really helps bring that awareness to your moods. Now let's look at ways to repurpose this if you don't use a mood tracker. Um, and and I will also add that, if you find this tracker helpful, you could make a copy or two and use it in different ways in your life. So maybe you use the one in your journal for your moods, but then you have a copy that you slide into your journal and you're going to use it for something else. So let's take a look at some repurposed mood trackers. There is an anxiety tracker if that is something that you are trying to really get a good picture of, collect this data. A calm tracker is a tracker that has some ideas so that this person, it's almost like they're going to their calm library, and it's a way to be intentional about doing that self-calming down with these ideas. There's a spending tracker below that, and then a manifest happiness tracker, which I throw in usually most every month. I love this because this person is kind of what am I going to manifest out into this world? I'm going to look at my connection, my creativity. I'm going to compliment someone. I'm going to smile. I'm going to enjoy taking care of myself, and so they're tracking these things that bring them happiness. So I think that's a lovely idea. Here's a couple of examples of business trackers. Like I said, you could make a copy of this. So do your mood tracker, but then also perhaps there's a way to track your items for business. The one over on the right is one of my book trackers that I have done. I usually use my tracker as a book tracker. It's just kind of fun to see my rainbow of reading. And then this is a great tracker to use as a symptom tracker. So if you're trying to like put all your symptoms into one place so you can go to your medical provider with here. This is what this is how what I've been tracking and this is how I'm feeling. And I have it all here in 31 days, a 31-day piece of data for you. workout tracker, kindness, activity, lots of different ways to do that. And then finally, we are all working on our mindless scrolling on social media. So maybe I thought this was a great idea, tracking just how much time was spent scrolling through. So let me put on some music. And some of you have already shared how you use this tracker, but feel free to drop in the chat if you're thinking about adding a secondary tracker and how you would use that. Or let us know in the past, how has this worked for you when you have tracked your feelings? What has it shown you? What kind of data have you collected about yourself? And again, I'm going to remind you to kind of draw around your weekends or draw around the days that are different so you can track your moods in the main locations that you are hanging out in. And then we'll be back to do our habit tracker. Alrighty, now let's just skip on over here to our habit tracker. And this is my personal favorite of the journal. I love this monthly habit wheel. Of course, go check that start, stop, and continue box. Are there some habits that you can pull from what you wrote in that stop, start, and continue and put those things on this tracker so that you're doing that daily check-in with what you were hoping for the month? Of course, we want you to put some habits that are already established on there so that you can give yourself some daily wins and then don't, go easy when you're adding new habits. We don't want to fill this whole thing up with brand new habits because, as we know, it can take a long time to lock in some habits. Depending on what they are, it can take up to 8 months. Now, this habit tracker is for the things that we plan to do most days of the month, and it's different from the weekly tracker, which that weekly tracker can kind of be set up for your particular week. We have some habit ideas for you if you're looking for that. And then, of course, I've got some examples from Sonder family. Again, look at the one over there on the right. We are designating those weekends so that we're keeping those. Maybe you give yourself the weekend off, right? That's an okay thing to do. You don't have to fill out every line like you see the one that's on the bottom right. It's just 4 habits, not every line is filled out. And then the one above that, I believe this was Kimberly L, and she is going to do the letters for success. And hopefully each day she will complete writing that word success, which I thought was just kind of a fun gamification of our habit tracker. There are some other examples. I love seeing them filled out at the end of the month, like the one on the left. I set my habit tracker up. This is an old tracker for me, and I did 3 morning things and 3 evening things and divided it up, and then, of course, highlighted those weekends. And then remember, it's not a bingo. It's okay to have blank spaces. This is a point of data collection. So we're going to keep these pages very neutral as we are looking at them. So let me put on some music. Let us know, what are you tracking this month? I think our new month of simplicity is going to be a grand one. And I'm so excited to spend it with you and look forward to that new month. I want to remind you one more time about our Sonder in real life meetup in the Dallas area. Malika's also going to drop a whole bunch of links in our chat so that you can access the recording of this, as well as like 900 other socials. And then she'll, put some other links there. So be sure to look there. And just thank you for taking the time today to be intentional with your journal so that we can all start a brand new month together and then just journey through the month of simplicity. It's going to be kind of fun to see where this takes us. Thanks, Summer Club.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessity of Mother Nature's recipe that brings the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the trees to make some honey just for me. You look under the rocks and plants and take a glance at them fancy ants and baby, try a few. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Looking for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. La-dee-da. I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life.